Hello, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, Bill Cannon, retired NYPD sergeant with 27 years of service. And with me today, my co-host, straight out of Brooklyn, Phil Grimaldi, retired NYPD detective. How you doing, Phil?
I'm doing pretty good, Billy. And just a little side note, the pot of sauce is on the stove. She's frying the meatballs, so I'm in good shape today.
Well, of course, it's Sunday. What else the hell
Yeah,
did you expect in the Grimaldi house? You know, you got
that's
to get
right.
that sauce. You got to get that sauce cooking and simmering and get all the right ingredients in it so it's just cooked to perfection.
Absolutely. She just made me fill up the grated cheese jar. She threw the grated cheese into the meatballs. That's one of the secret ingredients. So I don't want to give too much away, but we're looking good so far today.
How do you stay thin, Phil? I'd like to know that secret.
I'm not so thin, but I could be a lot heavier. I'll tell you that. But it's about you just got to control. My older days when I was working out a lot, I would be able to eat 2 dishes of pasta on Sunday. Now I keep it to one, and although it's hard, it's really tempting. But yeah, you got to work out. You got to do things in moderation, and hopefully we live to see the elderly days of life. In the '90s, I hope.
One
Let's
hundred percent.
yeah.
100%. I got up this morning, and I always on Sundays I always fight with myself, with my conscience and me, on whether I'm going to go to the gym or not. And today I actually won out, and I went to the gym. Usually,
Good for you.
laziness prevails, and I'll be like, oh, I'll start the week on Monday, and I'll skip Sunday. But I made it to the gym, so I felt good that I got an hour workout in.
Yeah, I started working out when I was like 15 years old, and I'm sort of addicted to it now. If I don't work out for a week, I start really feeling it between guilt, my body feels it. So, but the whole thing is, with the way life goes, it's having the time to do it, with work and kids and all of that. But I think the real key to that is what you did today. You make it a priority. Do it first if you can in your day. And once it's out of the way, you feel like there's a load off your back. Me, anyhow, that's how I feel. I kind of put it on my shoulders, so to speak, if I don't work out. So I try to get it done. Usually, during when the kids are home and during the week, a lot of times I'll have to go in the evening. But if you could go first thing in the day, get your workout done, really puts a whole different spin on your day.
That's absolutely true. I was talking about to you and a lot of other people. Everyone always like wants to put life off. Oh, I'm going to do that in 6 months. I'm going to do it in a year. I'm going to do it in 2 years, 3 years. But you know something? There's never any guarantee that you're going to be around in 6 months or a year or 3 years or whatever. Everyone takes it for granted. I sort of love that expression. You want to make God laugh, make plans. And
Yeah.
you see so much truth to that. And I don't want to bore people with this picture here, but to me that just says happiness and going to your happy place. And I went fishing in Isla Morada. It was fantastic. I enjoyed myself. And, I didn't put it off. It costs a bit of money, but, something was great. And
Look at
on,
that
on the
water
other,
in that picture, Billy. That water is just, oh
oh,
my God.
it's you don't see it anywhere else in the world. Maybe the Caribbean, but it's
Aqua blue.
just,
Beautiful, beautiful.
it's, yeah,
Yeah, look at that.
it's just incredible. And catching that fish there, I mean, it's not edible. It's a, but it fights like you wouldn't believe it. It fights for its life, and it's incredible. And then we have the pleasure really of letting him go.
I was going to say, he was let go, obviously, back into
Yeah.
the ocean. But what type of fish is that again, Billy?
Why do I keep remembering
Sailfish?
sailfish? Yeah.
Sailfish. Okay.
And something, the captain tags them for
Yeah,
conservation reasons. And then they
sure.
get caught somewhere else, and he gets notified, oh, the fish you tagged in Isla Morada just got caught in north of Miami, so it's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. That's a good thing. And you gotta realize that the conservation effort that started 40, 50 years ago, we're reaping the benefits of it now, where we have those beautiful waters. I mean, even here in the Northeast, although the waters aren't the same color, but they're very, very clean. And it's good to have the natural environment where the fish are really plentiful. And I just had some, this was an edible fish. I had some fish over the weekend on Friday night. At my cousin's restaurant, Ellen B. Spumoni Gardens in Brooklyn. They served black bass, and they had it with a It was a strawberry crusted mango sauce. Oh my God. I had some left over. I brought it to my wife. She tasted it last night. It was really, really good. Fridays during Lent, you don't eat meat if you're Catholic. Right. So I partake in some fish Friday, but it was really, really good. And they had said it just came in on
Phil, was that sea bass?
Yeah, like sea bass. They call it
because I used to catch them out in Montauk. We used to catch tons of them, and it's really good eating fish. Yeah,
it's a great eating fish. And the thing was, it was so fresh. It came in on Thursday. It was probably swimming in the ocean. Came in late Thursday. It was probably swimming in the ocean Wednesday or Thursday. So it was very, very good. It was delicious. And just did a little shout out to Joel from L&B and my cousin Lenny. They served such great fish over the weekend.
Well, that's great. I just saw an article in the Times, and they were one of the top 10 pizzas in Manhattan, the best pizza in Manhattan. So I thought,
they're known for their pizza, but they really have a tremendous menu in the restaurant and the staff. Just to give you an idea, Lenny was on Arthur Idala's radio show Friday evening. He's got a thing called I think it's the Arthur Idala Hour or something like that. But Lenny went on and he did the Macaroni Minute. And believe it or not, of all things he was talking about, we had St. Patrick's Day Thursday and St. Joseph's Day was yesterday. So we were talking about the different foods. And L&B on Thursday, they had naturally corned beef and cabbage. They also had shepherd's pie, but they made an Irish linguine. They took a fettuccine Alfredo. I'm sorry, not Irish linguine, Irish fettuccine. And they took a regular, recipe of fettuccine Alfredo. They put basil into the blender and they liquefied it with some oil and they threw it into the fettuccine. And obviously the fettuccine turned green. So they did all of that stuff. And it was funny because when I was there Friday, this guy came in with a heavy Irish brogue. And I started talking with the guy. He goes, I bet you guys don't have corned beef and cabbage. So I pulled up. They have these little sheets of specials. I go, there it is, my friend. I go, not only that, they had shepherd's pie. He goes, are you kidding me? He goes, I came here for Italian food. He goes, I had so much corned beef and cabbage yesterday. And then I was telling him about the green fettuccine. And the guy was just, he was really taken back by it, because here he is, an Irishman with a brogue. I think he was right out of Ireland, really, really friendly guy, cool guy. And he was just so taken back that he was coming for an Italian dinner. And, we had the Irish stuff on the menu. So it was pretty cool.
That's great. I just wanted to mention on a somewhat of a somber note, this is a detective named Mordecai Desansky, and he just died at the age of 59, I believe, of a heart attack. What a guy. Great detective. He was actually with the NYPD counterterrorism program. He was stationed over in Tel Aviv, Israel, and he was one of the experts on, suicide bombers. And whenever there was a suicide bombing, he would go to the scene and investigate it. And not just that, just an amazing guy. We had him on the show June 21st, 2021. And I had never met Mordecai before on the job. New York City Police Department is such a big job, and it's not uncommon not to meet people because there's 35,000 cops, and I met him just in doing our show, and we immediately had, a close bond, just being cops. That's the one thing that'll always bring you together. You speak the same language, you've experienced the same things. And I just want to play a little bit. He was on the show, just a great personality, a great guy. I'm just going to play a little bit of it just for memory's sake. And, for you folks that never heard Mordecai Desansky speak, let me play a little bit of this.
For 6 months, you get assigned a permanent precinct. Now, the job said, okay, we have somebody in the 7-1. Why don't we put the next guy in the 6-6? Now, I didn't understand the hierarchy of the job is that if they offer you a contract and you say no, you might be in a little bit of trouble. So as it ended up, I actually said no to the 6-6. I said I'd like to go to Midtown.
Morty, just let me stop you there for 1 second. That's an Italian thing. Because
Yeah.
it is. Because if you're offered something and you turn it down, they'll never ask you for another favor ever again. Right out of Don Corleone's mouth. Phil, is that not true?
You're making a good point, buddy. But it's funny. I was in NSU 12 in 1982 to 83. and you got there probably what, 83? You said
83, yeah.
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 And that I just to expand a little bit on what you said, that's a part of Brooklyn called Crown Heights, where there was a large Jewish community, and Borough Park, where he mentioned the 6-6 precinct. Borough Park is the other. It's a large population of Jewish people in that area. So yeah, and when somebody offers, it's like the old saying: "Don't look a gift horse in the mouth; you take it."
Well, they were funny enough. When I say funny, they said, "Well, where would you like to go?" So, I said, well, the Midtown Manhattan precincts, Midtown North, Midtown South. I didn't want to go to the 17th, too many fixes. So I wanted to go someplace handpicked. And again, I have the audacity as a first generation to sort of ask for this. So I always tell the story. It's a great story. I don't know if anybody remembers Cornelius Dever, who was my NSU lieutenant.
Speaking about him just recently.
I'm standing on the corner of Nostrand and Church in NSU.
Hey, Morty, someone in the chat, Mark Meckler. Hey, Morty.
He's my boy.
8324.
We were in the academy together. I love Mark.
I just wanted to let you know that there's someone here that knows you.
So now everything's got to be on the up and up because he knows my whole history. So Lieutenant Dever pulls up to me, and he's driving himself, and he has a sheet of your permanent assignments. And is it okay if I curse?
Yes, yes.
And he goes, Morty, who would you fuck lately? And I go, excuse me, Lou? What do you mean? And he didn't call me Morty, he called me Munch. That was his affectionate term that he really liked me. So I go, Lou, I don't know. We went out to Bay Ridge last night after the 40-12. Nurses night, Peggy O'Neill's, anything is possible. I can't tell you 100% what happened. So he goes to me. I ask him, why are you asking that? He goes, well, you know where you're going, your permanent assignment, which could be for your entire career. He goes, you're going to the 7-9. I go, 7-9? Where is that? He goes, this side of Eastern Parkway? It's the other side of Eastern Parkway. I said, there's a world on the other side of Eastern Parkway? So as the expression goes, you do or die in Bed-Stuy. Went right to midnights. So
God bless Mordecai Desansky. May he rest in peace. Fidelis ad mortem.
Absolutely, Billy. And I got to tell you, what a sweetheart of a guy. What a true law enforcement officer. And unfortunately, he's going to be sorely missed. The intelligence community is going to suffer a loss of a tremendous asset. He worked overseas, and he worked very closely with other counterterrorism agencies in Israel, as well as other places in the world, to help our country and to prevent terrorism. And he's going to be sorely missed. Rest in peace, Morty. We love you, and just an unfortunate thing taken too soon.
Phil, one of the amazing things is that here's this guy. He talks with a little bit of an accent. He apparently wore a yarmulke during roll call. But when you meet the guy, he's 100% cop.
Oh, yeah.
And he's so likable, such a personality, and became a really great investigator, too. So it's a big loss.
Yeah. That story he was telling, I was in NSU 12. I think I was there either slightly before him or slightly after him. I don't remember him. NSU at the time was called the Neighborhood Stabilization Unit. It was working out at his 7-1 precinct. It was where you went from the police academy. You went to NSU. It was sort of like a training unit. And I knew Cornelius Dever. And for him to have Cornelius was an old school guy. And, here you have this young Jewish cop wearing a yarmulke, and Cornelius is an old school Irishman. I just think that he must have really made an impact on Cornelius, that he was, lovable to him, or gave him that nickname, So it shows that he was really, like you said, he was all cop. And, whatever idea Cornelius had in his head about him being Jewish, everything that just faded away. He saw he was a cop, and he gravitated to him. And I think it shows a testament to who he was, Morty, and he'll be sorely missed. It's really sad. 59 years old. I don't know did he have a family as well, Billy? I think
I know he has a family here, I believe, in New Jersey. I don't know whether he has grown kids or not. I don't know that much about him, but just, and if for you folks listening, Phil and I never met him in person. We met him doing this show, but there's many people I've never met in person, but I feel like they've been on the show multiple times, and I'm like their friend just from meeting them on the show. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
And I met him on the show, and I swore we were going to have a burger and a beer together. And unfortunately, that never happened, you know.
Yeah. I tell you, I never met him as well face to face, but doing that show, just talking with him, he was so easy to get along with. It was really, really a pleasure. And, you know, we meet other guys from the job and, you know, that we've never met. And, you know, they come on to the show and stuff. And it's all well and good, but there was really a connection with him. I got to admit that. And we did talk about at the end of that episode, we did talk about getting together. And unfortunately, it didn't happen. But, you know, condolences to his family. I know, I think he said he was married. I'm pretty sure he has children. So condolences to his family. God bless them and God bless him, and let him rest in peace.
100%. You know, folks, this coming week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we have 3 big shows in a row. And on Tuesday, we got this guy coming on, Lou Veloz, and he's an undercover ATF agent. And that's his book, Storefront Sting, right now. It's out there. It's sort of a bestseller in the law enforcement genre. And he's going to be on the show. I'm really excited. He talks about how the ATF does these things called storefront stings, where they actually open up stores and they attract the criminal element into these stores. You can see these guys. These are all ATF agents. They all look like bikers. Of course, they're undercover, so they have to look and fit the part. And he's going to come on, and I don't want to give too much away. I don't want to do the show now, but he's going to come on, and it's going to be like a really exciting show because, first of all, we had the dean of all undercovers on this show 3 times. And by the dean of undercovers, I obviously mean Joe Pistone, a.k.a. Donnie Brasco, probably the greatest undercover that ever lived. And I don't know if that's even debatable, but we've had him on the show 3 times, and just an amazing, amazing guy. And, you know, undercover work is really, really dangerous. You know, we used to have, of course, in NYPD, anti-crime, street crime. It's not exactly undercover. You're not infiltrating groups. You're not buying guns. You're not buying drugs, but you are in plain clothes. But undercover, you know, they're really risking their lives, buying guns, drugs, stolen merchandise, vehicles, all kinds of things where they're so close and face to face with the criminal element. And the other added danger is if they do get made, someone sees that they are the police, that could end your life right there.
100%, Billy. And, you know, they're not infiltrating shoplifters or, you know, someone selling dime bags on a corner. They're infiltrating, usually it's organized crime or these drug cartels or whatever the infiltration may be. It's usually at a high level of criminal activity. And again, so when you're in that arena with people that are playing a game that's at a high level of criminal activity, to kill someone who they believe could expose them or could be a rat, as they say in the in that life, it's done with the flick of a switch. They'll wouldn't think twice about killing somebody, especially when that person could put them in jail for the rest of their life and bring down their criminal organization. So hats off to that. I'm looking forward to that show. That's going to be real interesting. And obviously, if you look at the picture, he definitely played the part. He looks like you know, he look like bikers or whatever. But that's going to be real interesting. I'm very, very anxious to hear that.
Not only play the part, they live the part. Darren C4, former Bay Ridger in the house. The 6'8" was probably where you wanted to be stationed. It was great neighborhood back in the day. I remember Dades and Galetta patrolling around Fort Hamilton High School in 83-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's right around the time that those guys were. I think Dades and Galetta hooked up a little later than that, but Bay Ridge was I used to call it, the address was 333 65th Street, and I used to call it 333 Easy Street, because going from a busy squad in Coney Island for a lot of years, and then I wound up there, not by my own choice, but I wound up there, and it was just a completely different mindset. It was a completely different atmosphere. In Coney Island, we were catching homicides every few days, shootings all the time. In Bay Ridge, there was a lot of domestic violence and lower level crimes. And there was just so many restaurants there. And a few years that I worked there, I must have gained 20, 25 pounds because when we would be in Coney Island, we would be eating on the fly, they would call it. You know, we would run into Nathan's, grab a hot dog in between going from a shooting to a stabbing. In Bay Ridge, it was like, all right, we would put the napkin on our collar, sit down in a restaurant and have a full meal. And it showed on the waistline after a couple of months.
You know, Phil, it was sort of funny. You know how they say, like, when your kids go to college, they put on the freshman 15 or the freshman 20.
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
I think the same thing could be said about the police department. You put on your rookie 15 or your rookie 20, and next thing you know, that uniform that you wore in the academy, you'll never fit in that again. The dress blues that you bought, and now you're 20, 25 pounds heavier. I was pretty I was pretty fortunate that when I retired, I was only 20 pounds heavier than I was in the academy. I was 195 in the academy, and when I retired, I was 215. So that wasn't bad. That's not 27 years, 20 pounds. That's not so bad.
Yeah, I was about the same, but I was always into working out. And in Coney Island, we had the boardwalk. So me and a sergeant that I worked with, Kevin Butler, we would go jogging. And Jimmy Luongo, we would go jogging on the boardwalk. So, but when I went to the 6'8", I got there in 96. I got married in 97. I had my, in 98. And I had my first daughter in 99. So that 99 was the year that I gained all the weight because I had settled into Bay Ridge. I was working there in that squad for a while. And then, you know, my wife would be calling me when I was leaving work, sometimes 1 o'clock in the morning. I feel like I have a cheeseburger and a chocolate malted. So actually, if I got her one, I had to get one for myself. So all the weight that she gained on our first child, I put on a few myself. So that happens. It's a phenomenon that happens with the first year in college. It happens with the first pregnancy. Both the husband and wife gain weight, they say. So and
look at Angie Yang bragging. I still fit my dress blues.
God bless Angie. Good for you.
That's great, Angie.
Good girl.
I wish I could. Well, I might be able to squeeze into it. I don't know, but
the pants. No, the pants. I think I was a 33 waist, 33 or 34. Now I'm like 36 ish. So.
Whereas Joe Murray tried to put on his bulletproof vest and it came just below his sternum.
There he is. Joe
it was a bib that only covered his upper chest. Yeah. I used to love that. You see these cops wearing their vests, and you're like, dude, you better get a new vest, man. That's not even getting close to over your gut there, you know?
Yeah. Pretty soon it's going to be on your chin and be up so high. You know? But Joe Murray, good man. We love Joe.
Joe, good to see you in the chat. Lieutenant Pete, always great to see you guys. So we're going to talk a little bit about, and we're not going to give up what the show is going to be about. We're just going to try to promote the show and talk about it. And of course, we're talking about, you know, the book is Friends of the Family. And it's, of course, the inside story of the Mafia Cops, Louis Eppolito and Steve Caracappa. And we've done a couple of shows on this. And the last show we did with Tommy Days, we called it Part 1. And one of the major players in this book, and we're going to talk about it on Wednesday night, is this poor excuse for a human being, Gaspar Queso, who was the person who actually hired Eppolito and Caracappa, put them on his payroll. He was, I believe, a captain with the Lucchese crime family. So he was the one that paid them their salaries and got them to do heinous things. Well, they did it on their own accord, but he was the one behind it as far as financing it.
You know, Billy, he actually had them on his payroll at one point. He was reluctant in the beginning when he was first approached by Burton Kaplan about the Mafia Cops. His first response was, if they would turn on their own badges, meaning the police department, he goes, they'll eventually turn on me too. So he didn't trust them. It took time. And when he was, there was an attempted hit on his life. He was actually, Bill, you said he was a captain, but he was actually a boss of Lucchese family. And so when there was an attempt on his life, he was desperate for information because he recognized one of the hitters, and he needed information on those guys to exact revenge. That's when they really came on board, Eppolito and Caracappa. He used them for information. And we're going to go from where we left off was around 1986. Of course, this scandal occurred over a long period of time. I mean, you know, they were come on the job, come on to the NYPD in 1969. They were eventually arrested in 2004 and convicted on all charges in 2006. So we're going to go through, we went through the beginning part of the story, which was from 69 to around 86. And we're going to really dissect and take apart. Obviously, Tommy Dades is the master of this subject, since he was heavily involved in the investigation. He was one of the lead investigators, along with Joe Ponzi and Michael Vecchione from the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office, as well as various other agencies, FBI, DEA. So we're going to really take apart from what happened from where we left off around 86 all the way till the point where they're convicted. It's an unbelievable story. It's actually the largest scandal in the history of the NYPD. I mean, there were so many other scandals, but this was the one that takes the cherry on the top of the cake, because they were actually contract killers for the mob. They were on the payroll of Gas Pipe Queso. He was giving them a monthly stipend. And when they would do certain things, specifically murders, they would negotiate a bonus, so to speak. And a lot of times it would be $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. So they were the two dirtiest cops in NYPD history. Tommy was instrumental in bringing them down. So I think we're going to have a great conversation on Wednesday night. It is, Bill, we're doing it?
Yeah, it's Wednesday night.
Wednesday night, 9 p.m.
Bruno Giovanni Santini Jr. I love that name, Bruno Giovanni Santini Jr. When Gas Pipe had Lou and Steve on the payroll, did that involve medical and dental coverage also, you think? Pension plan? Yeah, their pension plan was going to prison. That was their pension plan.
Yeah.
And ultimately death. But Bruno, I like your sense of humor. That's great. No, I don't think the mob includes a medical or dental plan.
Yeah, I got to make a comment about Bruno, because I read a comment that he put up. You put the banner up for the show, and he threw a comment in there, and he asked that he read in Eppolito's book that they threw a racket for him. We call it a racket. It was like a fundraiser when he got in trouble in, I believe it was around 83 or so, when he got in trouble with the Rosario Gambino file being found in Gambino's house. They suspended him and they threw a racket for him. And he asked, is it true that there were captains and inspectors at the racket? We don't really know. We weren't there, but it's likely that it could have been cops and sergeants and lieutenants, whatever. A lot of times if a guy gets in trouble and they know who he is, they'll either show up or they'll donate money. At the time, no one knew that he was as dirty as he was. I guess the street may have known, but the hierarchy, the police department had no idea. If they did, it wasn't public knowledge. So to answer that question, it could be that there was. We don't know for sure.
This is one of the actual hits that Caracappa and Eppolito did. And I believe that it's alleged that the trigger man was Steve Caracappa. And
I'm not sure about this one, Billy, but I know that they were actually pulled the trigger on Eddie Leno, is a guy who I actually knew him from growing up in Gravesend. And then I was assigned in the 6-0 squad at the time that he was killed. I think it was around 91 or 92. But I didn't actually respond to the actual homicide scene. I responded, I came into work the next day and I saw the car and stuff. But they actually pulled the trigger on Eddie Leno. I'm not sure about that one, but save that picture. We'll run it past Tommy, and I'm sure I'll have a lot to say about it. They were just outright stone cold murderers.
The picture on the screen is Anthony Gaspipe Queso. And one of the interesting things, and as you guys know, we did a show with Sammy the Bull. And in one of Sammy the Bull's episodes, he talked to how Gaspipe Queso killed someone in his club. He actually shot someone to death in his club. And of course, they thought it was going to cause a major rift between the two families, because you don't disrespect another made guy. I mean, obviously killing someone in any club is not a smart thing to do, but it was owned by Sammy the Bull. And they thought that this guy Queso was a real dirtbag. When he got one of the guys that he thought that he supposedly put a hit on him, he shot the guy like 13 or 14 times, tortured him until he gave him all the information he wanted. So he was a real not nice guy. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, going back to what you just said, Billy, about the fact that he killed someone in Sammy's club, it's a sure sign of disrespect. Obviously, we're talking about killing. It's very abhorrent. It's disgusting. You know, no one. We should never promote any kind of murder or anything. But when you lived in their world, in their life, it was a sign of disrespect that he would do something like that and bring heat down. You know, someone gets shot and killed in a club, whether what time, you know, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning or 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Obviously, there's a chance that the police could get involved and people could wind up getting arrested. So it was a sign of disrespect. I think that's the point that Sammy was trying to make, that he shouldn't have did what he did. He's been described as a serial killer. And that case you talked about where he shot the guy 13 or 14 times and trying to exact information, that was Jimmy Heidel. And if you look at the 60 Minutes interview, Ed Bradley did a tremendous interview with him, as well as Tommy Dades. You guys could look that up on the internet. But when you see the interview with Ed Bradley and Gaspipe, he pushes Queso on it and says, you know, because he starts out, he goes, yeah, I killed him. He goes, but I didn't torture him. He goes, you didn't torture him. How many times you shoot him? I don't know, maybe 5. He goes, 5 or maybe 10. He goes, yeah, maybe 10. But if you see the interview, you could see he was just a cold-blooded, stone-cold killer. He talks about killing this guy, and he says he didn't torture him, but we find out that he actually did torture him, and he's described as a serial killer. He's really just a maniac gone wild, and check that out. That's interesting stuff, and we'll go through that on the episode, I'm sure.
Absolutely. NYPD captain. That hit was the wrong Nicky Guido. Yeah, we're going to get into that on Wednesday night in much more depth, but thank you for your comment, NYPD captain. Folks, this is Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. This is sort of an unscheduled show. Phil and I put it together today just to promote our shows going forward the next week. I missed doing these shows when I was just away for a few days. You get so attached to it. When you don't go on the air, you get like, oh, I got to get back, and you get crazy. Hey, I'm in Isla Mirada. Take it easy, But folks, if you're not subscribed, please go on our YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, ring that bell. And if you want to contribute to us, we have a Patreon with 3 different levels. And you see the folks in the green font. That is our YouTube family. And we have 5 different levels of our YouTube family, and you can support us on that. Great to see some of you guys, Joe Murray, Angie, NYPD captain, Dawn Marie, always great to see you guys. Some of our mods that are out there. We need the mods. We get some of these psychos in the chat sometimes that say some stupid things, but it's great to have you guys in the mods also. So getting back to the Mafia Cops, and it's so great to have Tommy Dades on when we speak about this, because he worked this case. And I don't think there's anyone else in the world that knows as much about this case as Tommy Dades. There's old Bruce Cutler, who was Gotti's attorney. Now, I wonder if most cops would hire Bruce Cutler, or most people that are mob wannabes. He's known as a mob attorney. There's Lou Eppolito. I think that's his daughter he's walking with in that picture. And then again, his partner, Steve Caracappa. And there we go, Hitmen in Blue. It was thought to, when this first came out, it was thought to be an impossibility that this could happen. But it did happen. And there's documentation and there's all kinds of evidence to put forth that this is 100% true. Billy?
Yeah. Listen, I was on the job at the time that Eppolito and Caracappa were on the job. I met Eppolito several times. He was like a clown, always joking around, making stories, and always he always wanted an audience of people laughing. So when the first story hit about him being involved in the hit on Eddie Leno, that was one of the things when they debriefed Queso when he tried to make a deal with the government. And his deal fell apart. They caught him in lies. They tore up his agreement. But they did, however, speak about some of the things. It was leaked to the press regarding, information that he had given. So when that story hit the newspapers, I think Eppolito and Caracappa were already retired. They were already out in Vegas. And the general consensus around the detective bureau, especially in Brooklyn where I worked, was that, are you insane? Are you crazy? These guys couldn't be killers. That's made up stuff. How could you believe an organized crime guy like Gaspipe Queso? He's a psychotic killer. So no one really wanted to believe it. And as time went on, I had conversation with Tommy, and I said to him, Tommy, could this be true? And he pulled me on the side, and he had already been, investigating the case. This is years after it hit the papers. And he said to me, Phil, if there's ever corroboration of other than Gaspipe Queso on what these two did, they're going to jail. And sure enough, that corroboration was actually done by Burton Kaplan. And the Nicky Guido homicide that was just referenced by the captain, by NYPD captain, that was instrumental in breaking open the whole case. Obviously, there were a lot of other things, but one of the things that was really instrumental was that Burton Kaplan wouldn't flip. He was approached numerous times, and he kept saying, no, no, no. And then eventually at one of the sit-downs, and I don't want to talk too much about it because I want to save it for the show on Wednesday, it was brought to his attention, and he eventually wound up flipping. But Tommy will have specific details about that. I believe the picture you have on the screen now, I think that's the day that they were arrested in Las Vegas. That's their perp walk, either in or out of court. It spread over many, many years. They morphed into hitmen for the mob, and I guess we're going to hear the rest of the details when we have the show on Wednesday night.
Well, many people have a mob attorney, but the police department has an attorney who's much tougher than Cutler, than Bruce Cutler. He's a former boxer, former NYPD police officer, and his name is Joe Murray. And there's his
Joe Murray, attorney at law. Have you found yourself in a jam? Are you in need of legal counsel in the New York area? Do you need a victim's advocate? Well, Joe Murray is your man. He's not only an experienced trial attorney, he also is a retired 15-year member of the NYPD. He literally knows both sides of the fence. His website is jmurray-law.com. His telephone number is 646-838-1702. And his email is joe@jmurray-law.com. Billy, it's funny you brought up Cutler.
What do you want from me? What do you want from me? He's always saying.
I met Bruce Cutler years ago when I worked in the 70 RIP unit, which is a robbery identification program. Other guys in the team had locked up these guys that were organized crime related, and Cutler showed up as their attorney. And I got to say the truth. When there were no cameras around, he was a gentleman with us. He was very straightforward, and we did the lineups. They didn't get picked, and his guys wound up walking away. It was somebody identified them, but it turned out they didn't do it. But he was pretty cordial with us. And listen, when there's no cameras around, he doesn't come across as that big tough mob attorney. He was real professional with us, and I guess, that the camera, the little red light on the camera goes on, and he becomes, mob attorney Bruce Cutler.
Yeah, some people say, he never met a camera he didn't like,
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of attorneys are like that. We've seen that with some of the cases we've covered on here. These attorneys can't stay off the damn air. They got to go on TV every minute, and you realize they're getting all of that free advertising, and it's, but then sometimes they step on their proverbial, and say the wrong things. And so
Billy, think about how stupid that is, that he hired Bruce Cutler to be his attorney at Eppolito. It's like, you're trying to say you're not a mobster, you're not doing hits for the mob, but you hire a mob attorney. So that right there wasn't too sharp. I don't know what he was thinking. I mean, I don't know. He was never known to be a quiet, fly on the radar guy, under the radar guy. He was always flamboyant and out there. He walked into a room, he had to be telling jokes or, cracking, attacking bosses or whatever it was. He was, and I did just think that was really, listen, they made a million mistakes, obviously, and you couldn't have picked anybody better than Bruce Cutler. I mean, who's known as
Bruce Cutler, as you know, was a former Brooklyn district attorney, so he had all of the training, he had all the background. But then he went the way of being a mob attorney, and that's where his bread was buttered, as they say.
Listen, he got his notoriety and fame defending John Gotti on 4 or 5 trials already. So now you fast forward into, that was in the early 90s. Now you fast forward into the 2000s. 2004 is when the arrest, and I think that just subconsciously you're going to see Bruce Cutler, you're going to think of John Gotti, you're going to think of organized crime, and you're going to think guilty. So I don't think that that was a smart move. If he had brains in his head, he should have hired Joe Murray.
Joe Murray, Bruce's father, Murray Cutler, was a detective, and Bruce worked in the Brooklyn DA for years. So see that.
I think that's why he had respect for us when we dealt with him. He mentioned that his father was a retired detective, and he worked in the Brooklyn DA's office. So he didn't try and throw his weight around with us. He was very, like I said, he was very cordial. But again, look at him in the media. If you Google his name, the first thing that's going to pop up is John Gotti's attorney. So.
I wonder, maybe Joe Murray can answer this. What's it like if you're a mob attorney when you have to collect your fees from those guys? Hey, I want a $20,000 retainer. Oh, okay. 2 days later, a week later, I went through it. I need another 15. What are they going to be like? Oh, okay. No, are they going to be like, what are you doing with all our money, right?
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because I know a lot of attorneys, and I'm not going to mention any names, but it's obvious, and it's like almost like a rumor or just word, that's kind of kept behind closed doors, that a lot of the attorneys that represent these guys, it's difficult getting paid because, like you said, they don't want to pay full price for anything. So, here they are in trouble. And, the lawyers, I mean, most lawyers, if you're going to trial, no matter what the case is, you're talking about $250,000 in the federal system, between private investigators and all the hours that they have to put in. You're talking big numbers. And, some of these mob guys, they could be high level mob guys, and they don't have that kind of money, so they're scratching the bottom of the barrel trying to come up with the fees. So naturally they, maybe they try to bully their way through the fees.
Joe, I'm going to give you some advice, and Michael Vecchione, you're also in the chat. This is how you get money from mob guys. You tell them to Venmo me the money. Venmo or PayPal, and if they don't send it, you don't represent them. That's it.
Yeah. Michael Vecchione, another instrumental part of the Mob Cops. I'm glad he's in there, Mike. Just a little shout out to Mike. Good man.
Great to see you. Yeah, so folks, again, so Tuesday night, we have Lou Veloz from Storefront Sting, a retired ATF agent with a tremendous story to tell. Wednesday night, Tommy Dades, Friends of the Family, Mob Cops, part number 2. We're going to do a little bit of a deeper dive. And then we have something pretty unusual on Thursday. And here it is right here. And it's a company called Conversus. And they make this device that reads a person's pupils. And all of you professional interviewers and interrogators out there, you know that when people lie, their pupils constrict. Hard to see, though. That's a hard thing to see if you're trying to look into someone's eyes, the lighting or whatever. But this camera that they use reads it and can tell deception right away. So as they put on this ad, Turn Into Police Off the Cuff on Thursday, March 24th, for an eye-opening discussion with Conversus CEO Todd Mickelson, as he shared stories about eye detect, that's what the device is called, is changing the way the world detects deception. Remember, the eyes don't lie. Now, I would think that in a human resources situation, you can use this without a search warrant or without, if it's on the same vein as a lie detector test, you would either have to get consent from the individual or they would have to sign off. But in a human resources thing, and specifically they want police departments to use this, you have no choice. You would sign off. You want the job, sign off. We're going to use this is the device we're going to use to interview you. And if you lie, it has the ability to read in your eyes whether you're telling the truth or not. Think of how crazy that is. But I mean, obviously, I don't think then we'll talk to the CEO of the company. I don't think that they could use this in an interrogation unless the defendant or the person being interviewed, so CEO Todd Mickelson, agrees to it. I would think it'd be the same level of suspicion as using a lie detector. Someone would have to agree to take the lie detector.
Yeah, listen, I'm all for any tools that will aid in investigation. I mean, we're into the age of cameras everywhere, facial recognition, plate readers, spot shooter, which determines the exact location where a shot is being fired, where these cameras are placed in high crime areas. So, listen, I think it's a great, the next page in investigative tools. The research has obviously been done, and I'm interested to hear the exactness of it and what kind of numbers, what kind of statistics they have on how effective it is on reading a person's eyes. And, you made all the points, Bill, about the legality of it. I would think that a person would have to submit to it, give permission, give consent to be, it's the same thing with a lie detector. And again, for it to be administered in court, I don't think that's going to be, admitted in court. I don't think it'll be something that can be, used in actual trials and in court. However, a lot of times we use the tools of the lie detector. There's actually a written lie detector test where it's 20 questions and a person answers it, and you can determine if there's deception or not. So this is just the next level in trying to determine if a person is lying or not. And I think in situations, let's say, of theft or different things like that, or like you said, in human resources of different companies, it could probably be utilized. And I guess we're going to find out. It sounds real interesting to me. We'll get to find out just how effective it really is.
Well, Phil, in interview and interrogation, obviously the eyes are something that the interviewer, interrogator, looks at all the time.
100%.
And a lot of deception is in the eyes. And you, as an interviewer and investigator, you can read deception from body language, but specifically the eyes. But however, it is difficult to actually gauge with the human eye to see if someone's pupils are constricting to the point where you could say, oh, that's a telltale sign a person's lying. And conversely, when, I don't know if you guys know this that are listening, when you're very happy and positive, your pupils get larger. I don't know if you guys knew that, but that's also true. I don't think this company will care about you getting happier or, more positive. They're looking for the pupils constricting for a sign of not telling the truth.
One of the things I'm curious about is this reader. I mean, does the person have to stay still and look into whatever it is that's going to read the pupils? Because a lot of times, and you cited it right there in an interview and interrogation, when you're talking about specific facts, you're asking a person, routine questions, pedigree information, they'll look you straight in the eye. However, when they're deceptive, a lot of times they'll look away, they'll look down. So I'm just wondering if during questioning, if that apparatus that's going to look into the person's pupil to read it, if they have to actually be looking into it. So it's going to be curious to see the details of this new technology.
Well, this is the second time that I've heard eyes being used in a investigative capacity. And number one, of course, is iris scan. An iris scan is the highest level of security you can use to vet someone is who they are. It's much more powerful than fingerprints, even more powerful than DNA. An iris scan is like millions more times more accurate than DNA. So what the companies do, for example, high-level security, you got to go through a door where on the other side of that door is the code to the nuclear weapons. Obviously, they want to make sure that the person that's going through that door is who they say they are. So a camera reads their iris and comes back definitively that's the right person.
That door is not open if it's not the right.
No, it's not opening, and that's
eyes.
attached to the door mechanism that would. I'm just using a real extreme example of that.
Well, I think that's a good comparison, though, Billy, because you have something so technical, it's so exact that it can read the iris of a person's eyes, and now we're sort of going in a lateral direction to use that technology, let's say, to tell if a person's lying or telling the truth. So I think that this is going to be like the way that DNA has morphed. Now we're having lie detection is morphing, and it's evolving and going forward. So it should be very interesting.
So we got a couple of good comedians in the chat. Here's the second joke of the day, Mickey Mantle. So that's why when I look in the mirror and tell myself I'm still 21, my pupils disappear.
I love it, Mickey Mantle. That's
pretty
great.
good, Mickey Mantle. I got the folks with the best jokes. I put them up on the screen. That's pretty good. I like that one.
Name too. That's like my all-time hero growing up, Mickey Mantle, old number 7. That was oh god, that's a good one though, Mickey Mantle. I love it.
Excellent. Phil, final words.
Final words. I just want to we gave a shout out to Morty, his family, Mordecai Desansky. Just God bless his family. Let him rest in peace. That was just a real loss to law enforcement. Like I said, he fought terrorism all across the world. I want to give another shout out to a good friend of mine. Michael Grimm is a former congressman. He was a Marine in Desert Storm. FBI agent. He's now in the Ukraine. He's a correspondent for Newsmax. He wrote an article in today's Post. I sent him a text message. He responded. I told him I was going to mention him on the show. We tried to load a picture. We'll probably get it on the next episode. But Mike, stay safe, brother. You're a good man. Watch your back there in Ukraine. He's taking real risk. 2 Fox News reporters, actually it was a cameraman and a correspondent, were just killed last week. The actual person who was doing the reporting, I forget his name, but he was injured. So everybody's got to watch their back over there. God bless Ukrainian people. Hopefully this war ends just as we're speaking. It couldn't be any more terrible. But Mike, shout out. God bless and stay safe, brother. And we'll hope to maybe talk to you in the future, and we're going to try and get that picture loaded on the next episode.
Also, folks, Jonathan Alpiri, who we had on the show, is a war correspondent, photographer. We've had him on the show twice. He's in the thick of it in the Ukraine. I saw him loading up bags of sand and stuff, and he gets the most amazing photographs, but he risks his life. He puts his life at risk to get these photos. So, folks, you heard us. You listened to the show Tuesday night. Lou Veloz, Wednesday night, Tommy Dades. Thursday night, we're going to have that show about the eye detect with their CEO. So, folks, till we see you on Tuesday night, have a great rest of your Sunday, and hope to see you then.
Stay safe, everyone.
One episode just ain't enough.